In the midst of the desert sands is a land whose glittering discoveries echo a time of gods and kings, whose victories are etched in stone, and whose lives depended on the flow and ebb of the Nile. Join Asian Air Safari for a 3-part adventure 4,500 years in the making to the sacred land of Egypt, where life is a continuous journey and death is only the beginning. I've first been to Egypt as a young boy, and again as a pilot doing a round-the-world flight. Whatever age you visit Egypt, it will be sure to bring out the explorer in you. This time, I was here to attend an aviation conference in Luxor, but decided to first reacquaint myself with the bustling capital, Cairo. Cairo's streets are a hive of activity, and its road scene is not for the faint of heart. The city has stood here for more than 1,000 years by the banks of the Nile. Throughout history, it has served as the capital of many Egyptian kingdoms. With Egypt's long and rich history, a good place to start would be the Museum of Egyptian Antiquities. I was accompanied by my friend Aziz, an Egyptologist. The museum is a sprawling collection of ancient artifacts that it is said it will take you 9 months to see everything, even if you spent just 1 minute to look at each item. This is not to include the vast number of artifacts hidden away in storage. Aziz walks me through some of the important finds in the museum.
This stone, without it, we wouldn't be able to read, to understand anything, or wouldn't be able to comprehend the Egyptian culture. In a city called Rosetta, they found it stone, almost 75 centimeter. This stone was written, as he believed at the time, 3 different languages. But I'll be honest with you, it was 2 languages, 3 fonts.
After discovering that the Rosetta Stone offered 3 versions of the same text, it became the key to deciphering Egyptian hieroglyphics, opening a whole new understanding of ancient Egypt. Imposing statues of pharaohs from different time periods are a sight to behold.
Pharaohs, according Egyptian understanding, it was considered God or son of the god on earth. He has to live on earth, and then suddenly he will move to another level, which is heaven, before he will reach paradise.
The level of preservation seemed like they were only carved a week ago, when most of them date back at least 3,000 years. Everyday objects, farming, and building tools offered an insight into the ancient Egyptian life.
If you just stand right here and you see, it looks like a big, huge piece of food being just hanged up there. This is actually the ancient Egyptian sledge that was used to carry the huge blocks of the pyramids to move it from one side to the other side.
Drawings and writings on papyrus have survived for thousands of years.
Egypt was the longest civilization because of the past. We are the only country in the whole world we had an archive system, documentation system.
These canopic jars, found in the tomb of the boy king Tutankhamun, contained each of his major organs. Some of the treasures found inside his tomb are displayed here. This is me taking home a mummy from the collection. Just kidding, of course. Items in the museum are currently being moved to a bigger location, the Grand Egyptian Museum in Giza, which is yet to open to the public. But the Museum of Antiquities is always worth a visit. For its collection, I waited almost 4,000 years to see. After our discoveries at the museum, it was back to the gritty streets of Cairo for some lunch. I am told that this place is a local favorite.
So Aziz, you take me to this specialty restaurant. What is this? Please explain to me.
Okay, in Egypt here, our top dish is mostly vegetarian food. This is, we call it koshari. And this type of food is a mix of rice, macaroni, lentil, pasta, hummus, fried onion.
I have to see how you eat it because I might make an embarrassment of myself.
We get this tomato garlic, sauce, and then you just add that to the top of the dish.
Top of the dish.
Yeah, that's it. Whatever you like it very, tomato-ish, taste or not. It's up to your taste. And then you add this vinaigrette. It's a vinegar, water, cumin, lime, and you shake it. And you just add a little bit, to give it that kick.
Maybe a little bit more for me.
You can add more, yeah. And I bet you like it spicy, am I right?
I don't mind spicy.
You don't mind spicy, but be careful because this is really, really hot Egyptian chili. And you're just gonna add a few drizzle and you taste it.
Exactly like yours.
Okay, that's it. And then you mix it up. And that's it. Some people in Egypt here, they love to add a little bit of lime.
I think I'd like to do that, yeah.
Mix it up all. Mix it up. Because rice, look at it at the bottom. It actually comes as a layer.
Okay, everything is here.
The seemingly odd combination of different carbs looked over the top, but each bite was bursting with flavors I didn't even know existed.
Great.
Taste it.
Very good. You made it just the right combination, actually.
Cairo is full of discoveries, and koshery is definitely one worth digging into. Up next, I continue to discover the ancient streets of Cairo, from the Coptic Christian to the Islamic quarters, before I sail into the life-giving waters of the Nile. I'm still in the sprawling capital of Cairo, tracing back its long history. Aziz takes me to one of the oldest parts in the city. What most people don't know is that Egypt used to be a major Christian country for hundreds of years before the Islamic conquest. Christianity in Egypt began in Alexandria, when the Apostle Mark traveled there in 33 AD, during the time of the Romans. It is also interesting to note that Jesus himself, along with Saint Joseph and Mother Mary, came to Egypt as refugees.
Remember when the Roman emperor wanted to have the children killed because of Jesus Christ, the whole family traveled from Jerusalem all the way to Egypt. And this is the route. The red dots are the routes where they traveled.
As Christianity spread, churches were built throughout Egypt, and the sites chosen were primarily those that were visited by the Holy Family. We visited the church of Saints Sergius and Bacchus, dating back to the 4th century. The church is of important historical significance in the Coptic Orthodox Church, as it is where patriarchs are elected. But what it is best known for is its links to the Holy Family.
This is the actual location of the cave where the Holy Family stayed when they fled Jerusalem. And they stayed here for 3 months.
Today, Cairo and most of the country is predominantly Muslim after the invasion of the Arab Muslims in the 7th century. Aziz and I walked to the Islamic part of Old Cairo, a place dominated by buildings of historic significance. In the middle of a busy intersection is an ornate-looking tower.
This is called the Sabil, which means giving water to the people. On the top floor is a school, and on the lower floor is where they give water to people traveling in the area.
Sabils were quite common at that time, giving travelers a chance to rest from their journey. Architecture then was so delicate that even simple buildings are a work of art. A major religious site is the Mosque of Al-Hakim. Built in the year 928, it has the oldest surviving minarets in the city. It served as a prison for crusaders, a stable for Sultan Saladin, and even as a fortress for Napoleon. Today, it is a quiet place of worship if you visit at the right time. We made our way to the el-Khalili souk, one of the oldest open-air markets in the Middle East. There were 1,000 things to see, touch, and experience. Each little corner was filled with treasures, and tiny alleys are crammed with cafes and carpet sellers. The souk is also a good place to try some traditional Egyptian food. We chanced upon a shop making a type of pastry where the dough is rolled flat, topped with meat, cheese, vegetables, and spices before being baked in the customary oven. It dates back to the time of the pharaohs, used as an offering to the gods in the temples. Of course, we had to try it ourselves.
And this looks like an Egyptian pizza.
In Arabic, we call it fitir.
Okay.
So we had one, they look similar, but actually the stuffing inside is different.
Different.
Yeah, we had one of tuna and one for cheese. This is a savory one, and later we will see the dessert. Crispy, you know.
I can also feel the spice.
Doesn't taste like pizza.
No.
It's totally different, yeah. Because the dough is very thin.
Very nice.
Right.
It was flaky. It crackled with every savory bite. But the best thing is that it also has a sweet version.
And this is the best part of the meal.
I know that. As a Filipinos and Egyptian, yeah, we love this more.
Yes.
So you can see the filling.
Yeah.
You know, they had like resin, they had almonds, they had coconut. See,
yeah.
that's the heaven just hidden underneath.
Wow. That's something to die for.
Absolutely.
And this one, something to be mummified for. I can eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
After a very hearty lunch, it is customary to end the meal with tea or coffee, and maybe something extra.
Aziz brings me to a very old coffee shop here in the center of old Egypt. And he teaches me a little bit more of what Egypt is all about with its drinks and
Water pipe.
water pipe.
Egyptians to mingle. We had kind of a lounge bar, but this is the authentic one for Egypt. This coffee shop since 1925, but it was actually inherited from a family before. So it goes back to centuries before.
I can get this perfect.
Now try to inhale it stronger, more. This is not tobacco, it's an apple leaf. So we had a fruity taste. Okay, you better do it like this way, sorry. I'll show you, okay?
Okay, so you don't have to put it
You
inside.
don't have to put it inside. You learn a little bit, that's step one.
I'm getting the hang of it. Plus, I take my Turkish coffee. Excellent, thick coffee.
Very thick, muddy coffee.
I don't know what it is about the mint tea and Turkish coffee, but Aziz was right. It was indeed the best way to mingle. As the sun began to set, Aziz took me to the banks of the Nile to get on board a felucca, a traditional wooden sailing boat.
So Aziz, this is the best way to spend a nice afternoon here in Cairo.
The felucca is the best way around sunset. It's
That's
very
right,
relaxing.
that's right.
No engine, and as you see it, it's
I
nice.
know. It was the quickest way to travel. And the Nile is really the center of life here.
That's very true. If I will mention Egypt, you have to think about the very thing before pyramids and tombs, the Nile. If there is no Nile, no Egypt.
The Nile, prized and venerated by its people, is the very reason that this mighty civilization rose from the desert sands of the Sahara. This water highway can also get very busy. Collisions are not uncommon.
This is what you call Nile traffic.
But you have to make sure your boatman knows what he's doing.
He's not a sailor.
I hope they make it back to shore.
Save your life!
Well, that's it for another crazy day in Cairo. Up next, I behold one of the world's greatest man-made marvels and ponder on the mysteries that surround it before heading to the next stop in my journey back in time. From the banks of the Nile, I made my way to the desert region of Cairo.
And that over there is the Sahara Desert. It's the biggest desert in the Middle East and in Africa.
In this ancient land, made up of more than 90% desert, is a culture and history encompassing 6,000 years. To be able to understand ancient Egypt's history, we have to look back at its timeline. Historians use two ways to outline Egypt's history: dynasties and kingdoms. Dynasties are families who held power and passed down their leadership to family members. Kingdoms are periods used to define points in history. There was the Old, Middle, and New Kingdoms. In between them are intermediate periods marked by unrest and foreign rule. Together with Aziz, I retrace history through Egypt's monuments that have withstood the test of time. Before I visit the iconic pyramids in Giza, I made my way to the necropolis of Saqqara and back to the Third Dynasty, in the period before the Old Kingdom. At the time, the capital of Egypt was Memphis, and Saqqara is where the royals were buried. Tombs were called mastabas and were rectangular-shaped buildings made of mud bricks. However, the Third Dynasty's first king, Djoser, wanted a grander resting place. His vizier and priest, Imhotep, designed the Steps Pyramid built in stone, which would become the world's first pyramid. It was surrounded by a complex of temples, courtyards, and shrines for the king to enjoy in the afterlife. Around Saqqara, there are ruins of other pyramids, like the Pyramid of Unas from the 5th Dynasty.
This was actually the pyramid where they found the first text and writing inside the tombs.
King Unas was the first to decorate his tomb with pyramid texts, the oldest religious writings in the world. These were spells that enabled the dead to move to the afterlife. Aziz and I also visited some mastabas that house deceased family members of the king or his court. This is the tomb of Princess Idut, daughter of King Unas. Inside, it contained well-preserved carvings and detailed artwork of everyday life.
It's amazing how they have preserved this area. The colors, the artwork, the details is something literally out of this world. For them to think of these little details of life is just simply amusing.
Having seen the precursors to the iconic pyramids, I now made my way to Giza. For thousands of years, the pyramids of Giza have captured the world's imagination and have become Egypt's defining symbol. Here lies the grand resting place of three pharaohs, Khufu, his son Khafre, and his grandson Menkaure. Nothing prepares you for the experience of beholding these magnificent structures rising out of the desert sands.
Just fantastic feeling being a part of history right here, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just standing here in front of this magnificent pyramids.
When they were built, all three pyramids were encased with white limestone, which would have been an imposing sight, shining in the midst of the desert sands. Most of the encasing stones are gone, but some can still be seen at the top of Khafre's pyramid. The biggest of the three pyramids is the Great Pyramid of Khufu. Standing at 480 feet tall, it is made of about 2 million blocks of stone, sloping at exactly 51 degrees at all sides. Each block weighed 2.5 tons, as much as an average car. No mortar was used to hold the blocks together, only a fit so precise that it has survived for more than 4,000 years. Inside the pyramids are masterfully built shafts and burial chambers. The second largest pyramid was built for Khufu's son, Khafre. It seems taller than the Great Pyramid, but it is an optical illusion made by its position in the plateau. What is striking about Khafre's pyramid complex is the mysterious Sphinx, colossal statue of a lion's body and a man's head, carved from a single piece of rock. The lion is a royal symbol associated with the worship of the sun. The Sphinx is said to perfectly align with the king's pyramid, the temple in front of it, and the sun's position during the equinox. To get another perspective of the pyramids, one can go for a nice camel ride across the plateau.
This is the best way to see pyramids, through a camel.
The image of camels in a caravan walking along the sand dunes may be a popular mental picture of Egypt. But these hardy animals are not endemic here. They were introduced much later during the Arab conquest. Their hump packs fat, which their body uses when food and water are scarce. They have a third eyelid that protects their eyes from sand and a nose that can close during a sandstorm. Finally, we reached a good vantage point showing the three Great Pyramids, along with some smaller structures beside them. There is still a lot of debate among experts as to the engineering and logistical methods that were used to build such massive undertakings. Whatever mysteries and questions surround the construction of the pyramids, one thing is for sure: they were built to ensure eternity for the pharaohs. And they have managed to do just that. Exploring Cairo has been an incredible journey to the past. But more discoveries await me as I leave the old kingdom behind and into the time of kings and queens in the ancient capital of Thebes, now modern-day Luxor. I arrived just in time for the opening ceremonies of the 112th FAI conference. The Federation Aeronatique International is the world's governing body for air sports. Since its inception in 1905, it has sought to bring aviators together from all over the world to create a community of responsible, passionate, and daring pilots. I was happy to see some old friends and make new ones as well. I could feel that Luxor is another adventure waiting to happen. In the second part of my journey across Egypt, I explored a city that time forgot, sailed through the waters that shaped the civilization, and behold the treasures they left behind.
This has been your captain, Joy Roa. See you in the next Asian Air Safari!